Okay.
Good evening. Welcome to Long Middle School's Go Team meeting where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the Go Team may participate in the discussions. Any members of the public presented are here to quietly observe. For members of the GO team, please identify yourselves when you speak. I am pleased to call this meeting of the Long Middle School GO team to order at 5:39 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll. The secretary will now take roll.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I can't get my camera to work. I'm sorry. Let me go to the page with the, yeah, sorry. Kiara Barnes, are you present? Ms. Barnes, can you hear me?
I'm present.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Barnes.
All righty.
Thank you. And now the next person, Ms. Courtney Ogletree, are you present? Okay. Ms. Kruger, are you present?
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Hall, are you present?
Present.
Okay, I am present. Ms. Harriet Dionese. Mr. Calvin Sykes, are you present?
Present.
Thank you. And Dr. Tucker, are you present?
Yes, present.
Thank you very much. Those are all of our members.
This team will only be able to take official action if there is a quorum present. Is there a quorum present?
Yes, there is a quorum present.
Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you in copies and it was emailed to you as well.
It's in the chat also, if anybody didn't get the email. I posted a link to it in the chat.
All right, we will take a few moments to review the agenda.
Okay, so now that we've talked about all that, let's see how well we understand it. These are a series of statements.
As you're reviewing the agenda, I would like to say that some discussion items as far as those topics, we actually focused on our last meeting. So when you're looking at the discussion of data, when you look down at, discussion topic C, stakeholder participation in our school, our previous minutes will show where we did do that discussion about the family input and opportunities where we could highlight the families. And also as far as our information elements, we went through our registration and leveling updates, and also we went through the funding as far as those additional funds. So those are two items that we will not be discussing tonight as we discussed them in our previous meeting. I just wanted to provide you all with that update.
Thank you, Ms. McCoo.
Thank you all.
Are there any changes to the agenda?
but that's a really good.
May I have a motion to approve the previous agenda? The previous agendas.
I
I
motion to approve the previous agenda.
A
I
second.
second.
All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. Okay. We will now, review and approve the meeting minutes from, we just did. Okay. I'm so sorry, guys. Please give me one more.
No problem.
Okay, we will now move on to our discussion items on our agenda.
No, you were correct. We now have to
Was.
approve the previous minutes.
That's what I thought. That was the agenda. I'm so sorry. 3 things at one time.
No
So
problem.
we will now review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The meetings have been provided to you. Are there any corrections? We're going to pull those up on the screen.
Performing on the biggest stage in the world was just one step in my journey. Hi, I'm Ronnie, and I teach people all over the world how to dance with their dogs online. I was searching for a platform where I could really manage my video, and I found that it Leaps. I'm so passionate about dogs and dogs.
Okay, are there any corrections? All right, if there are no corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes?
I move to approve the meeting minutes.
Can I have a second?
I second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. All right. Okay, so Ms. Mccall, we will now move on to our discussion items.
Good evening again, everyone. Today we will proceed with our first business meeting for the CW Long Middle School Go Team. As discussed previously, our agenda will be as follows. We will, of course, we've already approved the agenda and approved our previous minutes. We were going to add an additional member to our community seat, but I don't think that individual is on right now. But at our next meeting, we will have an additional member that I will be recommending for the community seat. And we'll We will be going on to our school strategic plan, focusing on our strategic plan and priorities of review. Also, our up-to-date SMART goals for the 25-26 school year. We will also focus on MAP results and 2025 Georgia milestone results. As I stated previously, stakeholder engagement based off the previous minutes that were provided. We did discuss those items on last week, so we will not be looking at those items again tonight. And also, I will be providing additional information as far as announcements for the school events and other important information. And we will also look at information pertaining to APS Board 2040, the Comprehensive Long Range Facilities Plan update. Our 21 to 25 strategic plan. Now, with our strategic plan, of course, it says 2021 to 2025. These are focuses that we have for these next few years. Now, the mission of Crawford W. Long Middle School is to cultivate a community of lifelong learners and leaders that are empowered to globally compete and access future opportunities. Our vision is to build a community of compassionate innovators, creating opportunities for themselves and others. Now, we have goals that we have set for this school year in both literacy, numeracy, and also the whole child, focusing on attendance rates. Now, our goal for the upcoming school year in ELA, the percentage of students in grades 6 through 8 scoring proficient or above in ELA as measured by the Georgia Milestones Assessment will increase by 5% from 13.8% to 18.8% by May 2026. Our numeracy goal or our math goal, the percentage of students in grades 6 through 8 scoring proficient or above in mathematics as measured by the Georgia Milestones Assessment will increase also by 5% from 13.1% to 18.1%. And I'm sorry that ELA, I say 13.1, but I meant 13.8 to 18.8%. And our ADA increase our average daily attendance rate by 5% from 88.3% to 93.3% by May 2026. Now, when it comes to the strategic priorities and initiatives, we're looking at 4 areas that we're truly focusing on: fostering academic excellence for all, building a culture of student support, equipping and empowering leaders and staff, and creating a system of school support. Now, how are we going to focus on these initiatives and what are our priorities? Our priorities are as follows, and we have 8 priorities listed. Our first priority is to improve student mastery of reading, language arts, math, social studies, and science content knowledge. Our next priority is to implement the STEM program model school-wide in all content areas. Next, to prepare all students for college, career, and life. Our next priority is to implement goal setting, student ownership, growth mindset opportunities for all students. Our next one is to build teacher and leader capacity. Our next priority is recruit, develop, and retain highly talented faculty and staff. Our next priority is to utilize systems and resources that identify and address root causes to promote social and academic growth of all scholars. And our last priority is to inform and engage families, partners, and community members so we can remove all barriers that may be present for student achievement. What strategies are we going to utilize to meet those priorities? We're going to provide a strategic daily intervention connections block to address learning gaps, implement research-based instructional practices school-wide, provide core content enrichment and acceleration support to students to include advanced courses, implement project-based learning through our school's focus on STEM, execute a college and career readiness plan, implement social and emotional learning and restorative practices, implement strategies to motivate, engage, and build self-directed scholars with a sense of autonomy, choice, and responsibility in their actions, provide targeted professional learning opportunities and development focused on research and evidence-based practices. We're going to implement intentional vertical and horizontal instructional alignment throughout the school and cluster. We're going to create a H4TQ team to determine the teacher quality within the building. We're going to maximize the use of data dashboards and universal screener reports to monitor strategies, and progress. We're going to provide necessary supports to remove barriers preventing scholars from reporting to school. And we're going to build parent, family, and community capacity and engagement for all nationalities to understand student academic and behavior needs through town halls, curriculum nights, workshops, and after-school all-stars. Now, based off of what we did last fall, we actually had to rank our priorities, and this is from what we did last school year. And in front of you, you will see our rankings from the highest to the lowest. I will give you the opportunity to read over those as I read them aloud. Our first priority is to improve student mastery of reading, language arts, math, social studies, and science content knowledge. Our second is to implement STEM program model in all contents. Our third is to prepare all students for college, career, and life. Our fourth is to implement goal-setting, student ownership, growth mindset opportunities for all students. Fifth is to build the teacher and leader capacity. Six, recruit, develop, and retain highly talented faculty and staff. Seven, utilize systems and resources that identify and address root causes to promote social and academic growth. And number eight, inform and engage school, families, partners, and community members. And again, this was our rankings from last fall. Now, how does the strategic plan and the continuous improvement plan connect? Now, if you look at this, we have our strategic plan priorities, we have our SIP goals, and we also have our key indicators that will determine if we are meeting those goals. So our first priority, of course, is the ELA. The overarching need is to increase the number of students in grades 6 through 8, scoring proficient and above the ELA. And parting that typo with the word grades, I do apologize. I missed the E. Our SIP goal in line to that is a percentage of students scoring proficient or above in ELA in grades 6 through 8 will increase by 5% from 13.8% to 18.8% by May 2026. And again, our key indicator will be our ELA Georgia milestones, end of course test. I'm sorry, end of grade test. Next, our next priority, increase the number of students in grades 6 through 8 performing proficient or above in numeracy or on the math portion of the Georgia milestones. And again, our goal for this upcoming year would be to increase by 5% from 13.1% to 18.1%. And again, our key indicator would be the Math Georgia milestones end of grade test. And our next priority is to increase supports provided to parents to remove barriers from students attending school. And our goal is to increase the ADA by 5% from 88.3% to 93.3% by May 2026. And again, our indicator will be not only our average daily attendance rate, but our CCRPI attendance score. Now it's time for the data discussion. Let's see where we are so we can know where we are going and need to be. Now, in front of you, you will see our MAP scores that we recently took for the fall of 25-26. The MAP will be given mandatorily 2 times this school year, but we have opted into a third testing session so we can make sure we're tracking our students' data so we can see their progression throughout the school year. Now, if you look at the data in front of you, again, this is our MAP assessment. So our Georgia milestones was taken at the end of the school year. So our MAP assessment data is our most recent data point that we've collected on the students beyond those normal benchmarks taken within the classroom. Now, if we look at this data, we're looking at both math and reading, and those are our top priorities when it comes to our school improvement plan and also our strategic plan. Now, when you look at this, our 6th grade scholars in mathematics, of the 193 students that tested, 53% of those scholars were at the beginning level, 39% were at the developing level, 7% were at the proficient level, and 1% were at the distinguished level. And that is our 6th grade scholars in mathematics. Now, when we look at our reading data, 54% of our 6th grade scholars were at the beginning level, 33% were at the developing level, 12% were at the proficient level, and 1% were at the distinguished level. And again, that is our 6th grade scholars with ELA and mathematics. For our 7th grade scholars, in mathematics, 49% of our scholars were at the beginning level, 38% were at the developing level, 11% were at the proficient level, and 1% were at the distinguished level. And again, that is our 7th grade scholars in mathematics. Our 7th grade scholars in the area of reading, 52% were at the beginning level, 29% were at the developing level, 17% were at the proficient level, and 2% were at the distinguished level. That is our data for our 7th grade scholars with our MAP assessment in both math and reading. For our 8th grade scholars, in mathematics, 52% were at the beginning level, 38% were at the developing level, 8% at the proficient level, and 1% at the distinguished level. And for reading, 47% of our scholars were at the beginning level in 8th grade, 37% were at the developing level for 8th grade, 15% scored proficient, and 1% scored distinguished. And that is our data for ELA and mathematics for our fall MAP assessment. Now we're moving on to our Georgia Milestones assessment. Now, when it comes to the Georgia Milestones, of course, this test was taken at the end of the last school year. So now when we look at this data, those 7th grade scholars are now in 8th grade, and those 6th grade scholars are now in 7th grade. And our 8th grade scholars whose data is presented in front of you, they have transitioned to high school. Now when we look at our Georgia Milestones assessment, in ELA, 6th grade scholars, 49% were at the beginning level, 37% at the developing level, 13% at the proficient level, and 1% at the distinguished level. And those are our 6th grade scholars, our current 7th graders on the ELA assessment for Georgia Milestones last school year. For our 7th grade scholars, or our current 8th graders, 51% were at the beginning level, 30% were at the developing level, 17% at the proficient level, and 2% at the developing level. And again, those are our 7th grade scholars last year who are our current 8th grade scholars this school year. And for the 8th grade scholars last school year who are now currently in 9th grade, 57% score at the beginning level in ELA, 30% score at the developing level, 12% at the proficient level, and 2% at the distinguished level. And now we will move on to mathematics for our 6th grade scholars last year who are our current 7th graders. In mathematics, 59% scored at the beginning level, 31% scored at the developing level, 9% scored at the proficient level, and 2% scored at the distinguished level. Now, our 7th grade scholars last year, current 8th grade scholars this year, 54% at the beginning level in mathematics, 34% at the developing level, 11% at the proficient level, and 1% at the distinguished level. And our 8th grade scholars last school year who are currently 9th grade students in mathematics last school year on the GMAS, 47% scored at the beginning level, 44% at the developing level, 10% at the proficient level, and 1% at the distinguished level. Now, moving on to 8th grade science. For 8th grade science last school year, 64% of our scholars scored at the beginning level, 22% at the developing level, 13% at the proficient level, and 1% at the distinguished level. And I do apologize, we do not have science on the board, but I will most definitely pull those science scores up to ensure that we have a clear depiction of where we are in social studies. But I can tell you that 6.6% of our students in social studies last school year score at the proficient or distinguished level. So I will make sure that information is provided to you all before we get out the meeting for our exact numbers, because I see it's not on the screen for social studies, but I will most definitely make sure you receive that. Now, let's look at all content areas, our year to year. So from 2019 to 2025, where we've stood. In ELA, you will see in those first boxes in 2019, we're at 15.5%, 2022, 12.9, 2023, 13.8, 17.3% the previous school year, and last school year we were at 13.8. I will say this, statewide in ELA, statewide, there was a major drop. So this is not just Crawford Long Middle School, this is not just Atlanta Public Schools, but in ELA, there was a statewide drop because of course we're transitioning to new standards this school year. So there were some things as far as, but statewide, there was a drop in ELA. Now, if we look at mathematics, in mathematics, from 2019, and I will also say this, there have been shift in standards. So also, though you see these years, there have been some shift in standards and also the expectations for the standards and the rigor with the standards. Last school year, we were at 13.1% in mathematics for proficient or above, and that was an increase from the previous year of 10.8. If we look at science, from 2024 to 2025, you see that there was an increase of a 2% with the number of students that we had at the proficient and distinguished level. And with social studies, we did see a drop of about 2.6% from 2024 to 2025, but I know without a doubt that this year we will see those increases as needed. Now we're looking at all content areas and all students when we're looking at this data. Now I'm also going to look at some of our subgroups because Crawford Long Middle School, the entire school is economically disadvantaged. So that is one subgroup that we all fall in. So when you look at this data in front of you, that is also focused on our subgroup of ED. But we also have two other subgroups. We have special education or our sectional ed department, and we also have our English language learners. Next, you will see our comparisons for our special ed students or our exceptional ed students. Now, what you're seeing in front of you are those students who have scored proficient or distinguished. Now, I'm proud to say that in every content area across the board, science and social studies are only tested on the 8th grade level. We did see a drop again in ELA from 5.5% to 2.9%. But in mathematics, we did see an increase from 1.1% to 2.0%. And again, those are students scoring proficient or distinguished on the milestones. And I'm proud to say, as you can see, 2019, 2022, 2023, 2024, we did not have any students, 8th grade students, that were exceptional ed scoring proficient or distinguished. This year, I'm proud to say last school year, we actually had 2.6% of our exceptional ed department scoring proficient or distinguished, not only on the science, but the social studies portion of the Georgia Milestones Assessment. And again, those students are only tested in science and social studies at the 8th grade level. So this year, across the board, we have exceptional ed students in all content areas scoring proficient or above. And I think that's something that we should truly celebrate here in the school. So right now, our exceptional ed department, they're on the right track. So we're looking to keep that work and continue that work. Next, we'll be looking at our EL population. Now with our EL population, and again, this is our data from last school year. As you can see across the board with our EL population that we saw increases, and some we saw tremendous increases. In ELA, in 2024, 5.4% of our EL students scored proficient or above on the Georgia Milestones Assessments in ELA. I'm proud to say we did see an increase of 1.3%, and that went to 6.7% for our EL students. Next, we'll look at mathematics. 2019, 2022, we did not have any students performing at proficient or above on the Milestones Assessment. In 2023 in math, we saw 6.7% of those students scoring proficient or above. In 2024, we saw 8.1% of our EL population scoring proficient or above on the math portion of the GMAS. And last school year, we saw 15.6% of our EL students scoring proficient or above on the Georgia Milestones Assessment in mathematics. So a huge shout out to all of our EL teachers and also our math teachers. Now let's look at science. In 2023, there were 0 students, 0% of our EL students scored proficient or distinguished on the Georgia Milestones Assessment because that was not a subgroup. And to identify a subgroup, you must have at least 15 students. So there must be at least 15 students to be identified as a subgroup at that grade level. I'm proud to say last school year, 21.4% of our EL students in the 8th grade scored proficient or distinguished on the science portion of the Georgia Milestones Assessment. Now looking at social studies, the same exact thing. 2023, we had 0%, and last school year, 7.1% of our EL students scored proficient or above on the Georgia Milestones Assessment in social studies. So as we can see, not only are we showing growth in most content areas, but at the same time, even though our subgroups are showing tremendous growth. So work is being done here at Long Middle School, although the growth may not be where we want it to be at as far as achievement and mastery. This right here speaks volumes for the work that we are doing because we have gone from 0% to now in some areas double digits. So kudos to the work that is being done. Now, identify, and I think I hit some of those glows and grows, but here are some of the glows from the data that was just presented. There was an increase in EL students performing proficient and distinguished in all contents. There was an increase in exceptional ed students performing proficient and distinguished in all contents, science and social studies. It was the first time in 5 years. There was a 2.3% increase in all students performing a proficient or above in math. And there was a 2% increase in all students performing proficient or above in science. Some of our growth. We did see a decrease in students performing proficient or above in ELA, so we want to make sure that we trend towards the right direction to see those increases. Also, we saw a decrease in 8th grade students performing proficient or above in social studies. There was a decrease of 2.6%. And although we did not meet our ADA, our goals for last school year was 88.8. And our actual ADA was 88.3. Although we did not meet that goal, we were literally 0.5 of a point away from meeting our set goal for last school year. So that is something to celebrate, but at the same time, we still need to focus on making sure we meet our actual goal. And for this year, of course, it's 93.8. So that is the goal we're trying to meet for our average daily attendance rate. Now, Ms. Hall, I'm going to turn it over to you for our Go Team discussion data protocol. And I'll leave the questions up so you can facilitate.
All right, we have come to a point where it's time for us to discuss. So, what did you guys notice about anything on? Can you go back to the
This one, that one, which one?
You can stop right here. So for all of our contents, did anybody notice anything? Or are you wondering anything specifically about this one, the content? Anybody have anything to say? Any glows or grows? Miss Delnice, Miss Kruger.
And then it's also
I
interesting.
actually noticed something on the previous slide to this one, but I'll wait till we go back to that one.
Which one?
There,
Okay.
that. I was interested or curious in this one where the 7th graders, now our current 8th graders, have that big jump. The 17% of proficient learners. And I think there was a similar bump for 7th grade in the previous slide as well, which I just found that, yeah, see that the reading for 7th grade, that's 17%, and it kind of shrinks that. Did something happen with the 52%, there was something there in the slides that we saw. It was like that increased not the beginning, but at the same time, so did the proficient. Anyway, I'm not so great with data, but I was just looking at that and seeing those
Yeah. So
shifts.
when I looked at it, I know that I definitely took the time to look at it, and when I looked at it, because I look at the fall and I look at the one that they take when they come at the beginning of the year and the one that they took at the end to see, does that have anything to do with the summertime? Is there a summertime gap? Are they not reading in the summer? Are they, because we have summer school, and did the kids that come to summer school, did theirs go up? Did they stay the same? So I know I looked at that, and a lot of times the kids, once you show them those numbers, they're shocked and they're surprised, and it pushes them to do better. So I can't wait to see that the winter numbers to see, because if you show them these numbers and see, because when you go into APS graphs, they can see it all the way back from 5th grade. So they can see where they've dropped. And because girl, if you go in there, it shows them their map, it shows them the milestones, it shows them everything. So as a teacher, showing them that pushes them, and it encourages them to do better. So I can't wait to see the next numbers. But what I did notice is that the ones that came to summer school, they didn't drop. A lot of them either stayed the same or they went up 1 or 2 numbers,
And
one
I'm
or
going
two
to say
points.
this, as you're saying that, Ms. Hall, I'm going to say this because we don't have the duplicate screen. Last school year,
Mm.
the students who were in 7th grade, when it came to the ELA portion, 51% of them were at the beginning level. On the map that we just took, on the map, it's now 47% at the beginning level. So there was a decrease in the beginning, although we did not have an increase with the proficient and distinguished, because with proficient and distinguished, last school year was at 19%. This school year is at 16%. But again, learning loss during the summer can be factored in. But at the same time, we did see us closing that gap as far as beginning to developing. And that's what we really need to do.
Yes.
Because based off of that, there was a 4% decrease in the number of students that we had at beginning on the GMAS compared to the number of students that we had on the reading map when they took it about a month ago. So as we can see, there's narrowing that gap as far as beginning, but we need to make sure we're pushing and extending those students at the proficient and distinguished level. But again, we have to factor in learning loss. So like Ms. Hall said, I'm really waiting on this NEPS assessment.
In the
See what we're
wintertime
doing.
to see, yes.
And I see Ms. Barnes had her hand up.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I saw Ms.
Yes,
Barnes.
Miss Barnes. If you can come up. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to piggyback what y'all stated because, of course, I have kids and I know how the summer gap in you know correlates with how they take it in the spring. Another part I wanted to see is, does that factor in the kids that are no longer there, like may have took in the map score during the springtime and they're not there going forward? Does that play a factor in those numbers as well?
Yes, it
Um,
does. And I'm sorry. Ms. Barnes, will you finish?
oh yes, ma'am, I'm done. Yeah.
Okay, yes, it does, because as you can see right on the side where it says exams, it tells you the number of exams that were taken. So because we did see a decrease in our student population, so the exam number with the ELA test, last year we had 177 students test for ELA in 7th grade. No, I'm sorry, 153 students to test in ELA for 7th grade. This year we had 206 8th-grade students to test in ELA. So there was actually an increase in the number of students from 7th to 8th grade. So yes, it is factored in, but at the same time, this data is somewhat like comparing apples to oranges, because the 6th-grade scholars are no longer the 6th-grade scholars. They are the 7th-grade scholars. So at the same time, we have to look at where the students were last year and compare them to this year, because if we look at the grade levels, then we're going to be comparing literally our 7th grade students from last year to their 8th grade counterparts from last year, and they're two different students. And I will say this, I have been tracking the data from the beginning of my leadership as far as Lexile scores, and we are almost seeing a 20% decrease of students that are not on grade level in reading and are on grade level. So at one point, when student, for example, the 6th grade class that left, the 8th grade class that left us last school year, there was more than a 15% increase for those students who are on grade level reading from when they came in to now. So as we track that data, and I just want to send a huge shout out to our ELA teachers, science, math, social studies, connection teachers, because in school, you must read. In order to build that stamina, in order to build those skills, you must have text in front of you. And just looking at the trend data that's going as far as Lexile scores, Long middle school teachers are doing their thing because we are seeing those increases. So although we may not be where we want to when it comes to mastery based off of the content and the standards, we're most definitely seeing growth with all of our students across the board, especially in the area of reading.
Yeah, I definitely like that. So based on our schools, trend data from map assessment, the end of year test assessments with students group. Subgroups and grade levels showed the most significant gaps and unexpected trends. Ms. Kruger, that third question, how do you feel about that one? Which subgroups and grade levels showed the most significant gaps or unexpected trends?
Well, I'm always rooting for my SWDs. So for me, the number of SWDs that improved from our now 8th graders. And as like you said, I cannot wait to see the data. I'm a big believer in having a visual and showing my students a visual of what their progress is, but it's not to discourage them. It's always to encourage them. However, some may get discouraged, but that discouragement can turn into encouragement. I have some kids who really stress about their numbers. So just showing them just enough to push them, but I don't want them to, go back too far in 5th grade when, things were rough. Showing them their progress and giving them hope towards the future and, just pushing them. So, we are getting to paper and pencil, which is a good thing. We are making them actively read. And the pushback is we're going to see their results. They will see the results visually for themselves once they finish this hard work. So I feel like we just need to keep pushing until December when they take it again. And I think we will see I'm optimistic that there will be some big gap closures. Some numbers it's going to be more green than not.
I'm totally in agreement.
I agree.
I definitely agree. I feel like the school as a whole has definitely grown, and the teachers here are definitely putting in work. We are putting in work. Our boots are on the ground, and everybody is working together to push every student in the building. So based on our schools, trend data from the map assessments, milestones, and other indicators, are there specific trends that require more focused attention? I want to say that I got an email this morning from Ms. Mccall about a new program that we're going to start using in social studies. And I did start the training. At first, I was like, oh no, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. But after going through the training, I'm going to do it because it's going to force my children to answer questions more detailed. And it's going to force them to read for meaning, read with a purpose. And it has rubrics, it has everything that I need. So I do want to say that as long as we keep getting stuff that has everything that we need and it's not adding too much, I'm with it. So I do thank you, Miss McCall. That program,
DBQ.
yeah,
Miss
DBQ.
Gay said it took Miss Gay said it out, and that's one thing I know.
When
Some of
I
those
saw, it took me a minute to get in because it's in my backpack.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
You
was like,
said
oh, this
DBQ?
it's just social studies
Yes,
teachers right
yes.
now. And I was like, oh, but once you go in there, it's tailored. It doesn't have for eighth grade, it doesn't have too many things in there for us. So it's not going to be able to hit every standard that we have, but it can hit at least 5 of our standards. So and it's something that I know that we'll be able to use. So I feel like if we can, strategically slide it in there, I feel like it's a program that we can definitely use. So I feel like if we just continue to work together and sit down and act the plans that we have now, work those, work the plans that we have now, we'll be good. Not overload our plate, but work what we have will be good. Because I feel like we have some really good resources. I know that the ELA standards changed, and I know that everything's changed and everybody's working together. I feel like we're doing good. I feel like everybody's open and ready.
And that's what I was about to say. The biggest part about it is we can't do it in isolation.
Yes.
Sometimes as educators, there's a lot of isolation. There's a lot of working in silos because sometimes we're in our comfort zone. But in order to get better for the students, we sometimes have to step out their comfort zone, even when it comes to platforms and resources we're used to using. But I will say also, especially when you look at our subgroup of our EL students, Elevation, that is a platform within my backpack, especially when it comes to those reading pieces, social studies. Elevation is a resource that all teachers need to look at, especially when supporting the EL students, because it's based off of the students' needs and also the WIDA scores and standards in WIDA. So I would tell all teachers, especially those who need additional support, go and buy backpack and use Elevation. It will take you a long way, but at the same time, possibly use it for other students because other resources are embedded within that platform and strategies to use with students. So I would say that. Are there any additional questions?
No additional questions, but I just would like to add about a new resource that ELA is using. The Course Mojo, it is, because it is AI already embedded. So we had students trying to use AI for the AI. And it's like you're using AI to answer an AI question. So with this program, it is forcing them to look for the details as well after they have read it. But I like the fact that it embeds audio from some of my babies that have trouble with reading the passages as well as answering those questions, but they can hear that information. And it also has a microphone. So my babies that cannot spell very well, they can speak it. So I'm very excited. And when I showed one of my students today that, look, there's a microphone, he lit up. So that made me feel really good.
And see, those are platforms that even when the student may be somewhat hesitant to say things out loud in class, like you said, it doesn't provide that level of being uncomfortable because everything is right there in front of them. And that is the purpose of that platform, to pretty much serve as another level of support or teacher in the classroom for students who may need that support. So I'm glad that you said that you feel as if it is working. Thank you, Ms. Kruger. Now, where are we? We are here at step 4. Go Team reviews progress on current strategic plan, and Go Team develops 25-30 school strategic plan. So we are at step 4 currently. Are there any questions? Okay, now we move on to the principal's report. Of course, right now, APS 424, 2040. Reshaping the Future of Education. Of course, there have been several task force meetings. There was one on May 8th, 2025, also August 5th, but there will be some upcoming public meetings on October 20th and November 10th. There will be a virtual one at noon and in person at 6 p.m. at CLL 130 Trinity Avenue. And again, this is pertaining to the APS Comprehensive Long Range Facilities Plan. Now, our next announcement. There are some great and dynamic things going on here at Long Middle School. I think every teacher, if I was able to, would be announced as Teacher of the Year. But I'm happy to celebrate our very own CW Long Middle School Teacher of the Year for the 25-26 school year, Miss Monty Apostolos, 8th grade ELA teacher. Not only is she representing Long Middle School, but this week she was named APS Middle School Teacher of the Year, and will also has been named one of the 3 finalists for the APS District Teacher of the Year. So on behalf of the entire Tiger family, the 8th grade team, Mr. Danny, 8th grade assistant principal, and all of the colleagues of Long Middle School, we celebrate Ms. Apostolos, our Teacher of the Year, and APS Middle School Teacher of the Year. Also, the Go Team, of course, they will be having on this Saturday, September 27th, at Atlanta College and Career Academy, they will be holding their G3 Summit, Go, Grow, and Govern. This is an in-person summit. The full Go team has the opportunity to go. Please come ready to collaborate, contribute, and create the future. You're going to learn more about the 2025 to 2030 strategic plan, stakeholder engagement, the charter system, and much, much more. So please make sure if you're available on this coming Saturday from 8:30 to 2:30, you register to attend the G3 Summit being held at Atlanta College and Career Academy. Also, this coming on September 30th, we will have our CW Long Middle School Curriculum Night, Title I Night, and 8th grade Parent Night. A flyer has been sent out to all parents, but again, we will have our curriculum night on September 30th, 2025, starting promptly at 5:30 p.m. In addition, we have several trips and events taking place. Tomorrow, our 6th grade scholars will be taking a trip to Truist Park. And again, there are several activities we have coming up, but most notably, our curriculum night this coming September 30th. At this time, Ms. Hall, the floor is now yours.
All right, we have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Okay, Kruger, I read your lips. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Or raise your hand. Any abstentions, please raise your hand. All right, the Crawford Lawns Go Team meeting has been adjourned at 6:31. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all so very much. Have a great evening, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Even easier, not doing anything at all.